Hey, this is Original Kriya Yoga Volume 1, Step-by-Step Guide to Salvation, and I am your host, Fletcher. Uh, I am from CosmicQueer.com, that is Cosmic Queer with a K. I have lots of cool stuff on my website about the psychedelic experience, how to access higher consciousness on and off of psychedelics, and how amazingly cool things will happen if you do try that while on psychedelics. And then I also have under my tools and teachings some great free resources such as this book and others that are the unbastardized teachings of yoga, sorry, and other great stuff like qigong before it was, all scrambled by the Americans and made into things it is not supposed to be, like fucking hot yoga and all that bullshit. Okay, so here we go. I'll be making comments along the way, but I am mostly just reading all of the parts that I think are necessary. Introduction. At the request of many people, I have written this book on the original Kriya Yoga techniques of Lahiri Masahai. I am not entirely sure whether such an act of trying to express such a difficult subject in writing is correct on my part or not. However, after talking to many Kriya practitioners, I came to understand that what is given to them in the name of original Kriya Yoga of Lahiri Masahaya is not at all Kriya Yoga. Many Kriya have adopted these processes and techniques and practiced them for many years without achieving any results. In some cases, even faithful practice for over 40 years has not yielded any result. The Kriya techniques about which I am going to write are what I have received from my guru, Sri Gana Indranath Mukhopadhyay. Okay, I'm definitely not saying that right, but you get the drift. You're watching the video. I have it highlighted right here for you. Okay, my guru received it from his guru, Swami Pranabhana Daishi, and he received it from the revered Lahiri Masahai. I have heard that Swami Pranabhana Giri was the main disciple of Lahiri Baba, and I know my guru was the main disciple of Swami Pranabhana Daji. This lineage is not affiliated with any organization, which is why this Kriya Yoga is preserved in its original and unaltered form till this day. It is very difficult to say what will happen in the future if it falls in the hands of unauthorized, business-minded people. Many people have unnecessarily modified it and complicated the simple techniques of this Kriya Yoga. My only aim in writing this book is to present the original essence of Kriya Yoga to you all. But be careful, it is dangerous to practice this by mere reading of a book without getting proper guidance from a guru. This is why it's called Guru Mukhi Vidya, or a lesson that has to be obtained directly from the mouth of the guru. First of all, one should get initiation from Satguru and only then start practicing this Kriya Yoga. Otherwise, it will not be fruitful. And I'm going to pause here. Okay, so one thing that I will say with stuff like this is surely, do what you want, practice as you wish, and absolutely, if you can find somebody that is like a professional and is like, guru or master levels at Kriya to help you or to initiate you, yeah, absolutely take full advantage of that. But to assume that you would not get any benefit from practicing on your own, that some man has to do something to you for your own power within yourself to work for you, that's insane. So, disregard that. Absolutely do things the right way and take direction and always be looking to not just make things up. you know, even when like you're sitting with a book like this, since we are in the age of information, if you see something that's like, do this mudra, and you look at that mudra and maybe they have a drawing of it and you're like, oh, I don't really understand. Guess what? It's, the 21st century. Go on YouTube, see somebody visually do the mudra for you. Use every piece of everything that you have to put the pieces together, and you will do just as well and be just as fruitful. And I will tell you, as somebody that has not met a Kriya guru, I've done this stuff for much shorter times than they tell you to do it, and I've done it without somebody who's a guru, and I've had such great benefits that have lasted for longer than people will say. Because some people will be like, oh, well, if you stop doing it, then it'll immediately go away forever. And it doesn't have to be like that. A lot of these people, it's the patriarchy. Because even when we're dealing with ancient cultures and people that have more wisdom, that doesn't mean that they're perfect. And it doesn't mean that, they aren't kind of weird. A lot of these cultures still didn't allow women to even do these things. They have tools that we don't have, but they're not the most enlightened people on the planet. So you still have to use your own brain a little here. All right. And moving on. Kriya practitioners who are practicing the initial stages and have not yet entered Shushumna may find some portions of this book difficult to understand. As it is not possible to understand higher mathematics for a primary school student, advanced Kriya techniques will simply not make sense until you've mastered earlier stages. This book is written for both beginners as well as advanced Kriya practitioners. It will help the Kriya practitioner at all stages, and it can be used as a reference also. I will try to elaborate further in a second edition, due to be published sometime in 2017. Some portions of this book are taken from my short online book, but it is greatly expanded to include more detail and explanations. Some writings you may find repeated in this book to explain the technique more clearly. Alright, so that is the introduction, and now we're going to jump to some stuff I have bookmarked in this book, because we're not reading the whole thing, but I don't know, if people like it, maybe I'll read the whole thing. It is a great book to just read through. So here's the most important things. So we did note from author. Let's jump on to why should you practice Kriya Yoga? Okay. My purpose here is not to scare you, but to show you the path to get freedom from all these sufferings which are happening with every birth you take. You yourself don't know how many times you came to this world, be it as a parasite, different form of animal, bird, etc. Could it be as many as 8 million births? Or it could be as many as 8 million births. Lord Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, you yourself don't know how many births you have taken, but I know. Someone asked the Buddha about his previous birth. He said he remembered his last 500 births, one of which was a rabbit, another as a deer. We must remember that we come into this world with empty hands, and we will leave this world with empty hands. Nobody will share the sufferings of our death. Only our karma, our deeds, will go with us as samskaras, mind impressions, to our next life. So we must be careful not to fall into the trap of Maya, binding, and try to do more good deeds in our life. Even if we donate something out of charity, we must be careful that we are not donating to the wrong person. If you give money to an alcoholic and with your money he drinks in a state of intoxication, commits a crime, you will have to share the sin that was done because the donor's money was involved in it. If you donate to the right person, that money will come back to you many-fold, and if not immediately, then surely in the next life. This is the reason why some are born into rich families and some into poor. To get rid of suffering, the great yogis discovered Kriya Yoga. By the correct practice of Kriya, we get mukti, salvation. We go beyond suffering and ultimately dissolve with the Almighty, becoming free from the cycle of birth and death. Kriya Yoga is the simplest, fastest, and easiest way to liberate yourself. If you practice according to the instructions, you are bound to get salvation in this or the next life. Unfortunately, some people have turned this into something completely different due to improper guidance and miscommunication between guru and disciple. Discussing anything further about altered Kriya is a waste of precious time. Okay. Okay, so right now, let me take a sip of water. Don't go away, I'm still here. Eventually, I will learn how to cut all of my throat clearing out of this, but hopefully my voice is smooth enough to just hold you through. Okay, so these bullet points right here, I think, are pretty important and a great part of the book. This is on page 33, or no, this is on page 45 and 46 of the book. Okay, some points to remember. A Kriya practitioner should practice at least 2 times a day. Mornings and evenings, 2 hours each time in the beginning, and 3 hours after some advancement. Kriya should be practiced very comfortably without rushing to complete the Kriya. A Kriya practitioner should not eat anything 4 to 6 hours prior to practicing Kriya. During Kriya practice, one should sit on a pure woolen blanket with pure silk on it. Okay, I'll pause there. This is something that I've taken up. I don't have the silk, but I did get a wool blanket the first time after downloading this for free. By the way, hint hint, wink wink, PDF drive. And it is also, it's on my website if you can't find it there. Yeah, wool blanket is great because if you already are a hippie and you know about grounding or connecting, your body to the earth directly and getting that energy, you can definitely feel like the supercharge when you start adding like the wool and that kind of stuff, or even when you are just like doing these kinds of practices while directly connected to the earth. Very, very powerful stuff. Okay. No portion of the body should touch the floor. Sitting posture should be perfect, without any movement of any parts of the body. Mental eyes should be fixed in the center of the eyebrows or Ajna chakra without straining the physical eyes. Chant Om 6 times during inhalation and 6 times during exhalation. Simultaneously, mind should be fixed in Ajna chakra. Siddhasana is the best asana for Kriya practice. Only sattvic food should be taken. Food is a very important factor for Kriya practitioners. No eggs, meats, fish. No eggs, meats, etc. Fish, vegetables, fruit are allowed. Too much or too little of anything is no good for a Kriya practitioner. Eating, working, walking, sleeping, drinking too hot or too cold, too spicy, etc. 6 or 6.5 hours of sleep is enough. Too much TV watching, chatting, reading different books, gossiping is forbidden. Lady companions are not acceptable. Okay, pause here. So they're talking about this mostly for men, also because, of course, this was only a practice ever allowed to men, because women, of course, can't reach enlightenment. How could they? So when a lot of times you'll find deep in spirituality is that, especially when you find like the good stuff, is that men during sex lose a lot of energy. And there is like a whole deep practice about this that I won't go into because that can be a whole other video. But essentially, so like this is known and probably true. right? This doesn't necessarily mean you should go celibate, but it does mean that there is a way in which, for both men and women, you can cultivate sexual energy. And Montauk Chia has a book called Cultivating Female and Male Sexual Energy, two different books. Once again, free on my website, Cosmic Queer with a K, under Tools and Teachings. Under, I think that those are under Qigong or under Montauk Chia. And so if you start cultivating your sexual energy properly and you're not just throwing it all over the place, then being celibate isn't necessary. But these, everybody's practices, they want to feel like, well, this is what we do. This is how it's done. You shouldn't do anybody else's practices. But when you start adding all the people of the world's things together, you start to get a much clearer picture of things. And from that, with my personal opinion, I would say, if you're not going to be celibate, there are certainly guides to properly harness sexual energy from very good masters. And if you ever want to do Qigong or specifically sexual energy cultivation, Montauk Chia is the dude, and that stuff is on my website. Okay. Let me take a breath. I'm talking so much. And I have no option to just pause on here, so okay. Where am I? So celibacy. Okay. Always practice Kriya inside a dark room. I'll pause here again. If you've ever meditated in a dark room, or even if you're just like wired up all nice and cool like I am sometimes, if you're not even meditating, you're just kind of hanging out in the dark maybe before you go to sleep at night, and you just start getting the bright lights just flash, 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 and you're like, oh, what? Did I leave the lights on? Open your eyes. No, you're sitting in the darkness. Nope, it's definitely something in your head. And for a lot of people, they'll even go to like dark room retreats and stuff just so they can literally get the light back in their head. So being in a dark room can help you get that first flash of light for the first time, but that is also only the beginning, because the light is, just where it starts. There is something beyond the light and so much further to go. It's just letting you know that there's more than the darkness. Okay, so also never talk about any visions or powers or anything other or any other experience you get. This I don't necessarily agree with. I definitely think you shouldn't just be like telling people like, oh, I saw the world end and here's the date. Like, yeah, don't get caught up in that. But I mean, like, hey, you saw something cool, tell your friend. Like, why not? You don't necessarily need to put it on TikTok, but Again, keep this technique a total secret, otherwise a Kriya practitioner will lose the grace of God and will be placed in the dark world again. Yeah, that's very doomy, very religion. I'm not really about that. Also, like, if they even believe that, why'd you write this fucking book? You read between the lines, people. Without initiation, a Kriya practitioner will never succeed. Never. How could you? You need me to touch you. Yeah, again, just do your thing right and, commit. And if you are doing the practices right and you've done your research, I know for a fact that you will succeed even without a guru. Let me take a sip of water, then I'll tell you a little cool story. Okay, so I have done a lot of acid. You know that if you've been on my website and read the stuff under trip reports. I've done a lot of good acid too. And while I was doing this acid, I was always the person that I am today. Very spiritual, very, I have my practices, and I have the good shit. I have a hold on a lot of good practices just because I've been graced to be able to be good at researching, So naturally, while I have been tripping very, very hard on very, very great stuff, I've been doing these practices and I've entered worlds just so deep. And I won't get into that right now because we're focusing on Kriya. But I will tell you that I once, not on acid, but I was sober, and I once went to a Reiki certification thing. It's like a little Reiki 1 certification and Reiki circle type of thing. And it wasn't too long. It wasn't like a real certification. It was really just, but you know what I'm saying. So we did the thing. It was cool. You can feel the energy. It was great. Like, the people are cool. It just wasn't a very long course. And then at the end, we get essentially like initiated, right? And a part of the initiation was the woman who ran it, like, taking these symbols that were carved out of wood and kind of just like waving them in our face while she like said some stuff, and it was nice, right? Whatever. But cut to when I have fully am on like some of the best LSD in the world, and I am doing some deep spiritual practices. At one point I look up to a blank wall, and then it just burst into color, and from the wall, in almost like a 3D movie, shoots these symbols that I was almost seeing at the same like Reiki thing, but it was like a higher level like initiation just from the ether. So do not let a man tell him that you need a man to experience yourself and higher consciousness and the ether. That, again, is some church shit. It is the bullshit. If you are really doing it right and doing the work, you will know for a fact when you have been initiated. Sometimes you literally see it come from the walls. And moving on. A person can be judged by lifting their hands. If the hands of a person are found to be heavy when lifting their hands, then it means that he or she is not fit for practicing Kriya Yoga. A practitioner's hands should be light in weight, and if they are found to be light in weight, they are fit to practice Kriya. Do that if you want. You can also fully live your life by this one if you want. If that's what you want to do, I don't care. The flow of urine of a materialistic person goes to the left side, and the flow of urine of a yoga practitioner goes to the right side. Again, you want to base your life on that, go ahead. I'm not going to give you any input on that one. A Kriya practitioner should live like a blind, deaf, and dumb person, not seeing too many things, not hearing too much gossip, and not talking unnecessarily. The best time to practice Kriya for an advanced student is from 9:30 in the evening to 4:30 in the morning. At that time, many realized yogis travel with their astral body. And if they find someone practicing Kriya at that time, they bless them. You can certainly practice at these times. Go ahead, but time is not real, and time is different every place on the planet. So I don't know if that is Pacific Standard Time or, do what you want. Use your head here. Until we pierce Agna Chakra, pranayama is the only Kriya sadhana that we need to practice. The speed of our development in Kriya Yoga depends on the perfect pranayama. Whether we do good deeds or bad deeds during our lives, we have to take birth to get the results of all the deeds which we have done. Doing any deed, whether good or bad, comes from the restlessness of the mind. The only way to get rid of all the deeds and their results is the calmness of mind, or samadhi, where no deeds exist. Doing perfect Kriya with subtle breath changes the entire character of a person. Many Kriya practitioners may wonder how it is possible to enter Brahmamani, but we enter with the astral body only. During Kriya, we have to get rid of all egos and do not try to control your breathing. Always practice Kriya by breathing normally in the beginning without using any force on breath. Keep your mind always fixed on Agna Chakra without squinting or straining your eyes throughout the practice. before starting Kriya, take time to get rid of all kinds of thoughts. The mind should be clear and free of all thoughts and not filled with commitments and distractions. Okay, so in most practices like this, what you would usually do to clear your mind of all these thoughts and stuff, in what a lot of like yoga and like Hindu type of practices, is what you would start with chanting to clear your mind, and then you do a lot of this stuff, because chanting within itself is great and can do many things on its own, but a lot of these like deeper yogas and practices, you'll start with chanting and the focusing on your mantra, or the chanting is what will clear your mind and ready you for all of this other stuff. One that I would recommend is either a seed syllable chant. Well, I essentially only recommend seed syllable chants and sacred syllables, sacred sound chants. All the other stuff usually just translates to like, oh God, I am nothing without you, please save me. And how many times can you say that and get nothing before like, do that if you want, but I'll tell you, as somebody who has done a lot of this stuff and someone who's done it on acid, and that's not to say that I'm special, I highly recommend, if you are somebody that's tripping, try this stuff when you're tripping. You would be surprised how quickly you see things that look like biblical paintings and stuff out of, Buddhist temples, like, very immediately. Anyways, I forgot where I was. That's fine, we'll just keep reading. Where were we? Okay, so whether we do or no, here we are. During Kriya, we have to get rid of all our egos and not try to control your breathing. Always practice Kriya. Okay, we read that. Okay. Before Kriya, get rid of your thoughts, and then I said the chanting. Yes, the seed syllables. So all the seed syllables, those are going to be your best chants and mantras, because seed syllables translate to nothing, actually. They are literally just sounds that when you make them properly, the frequency emitted from yourself will heal you, but also cause certain changes in you that help allow you to better, transmit higher consciousness and to, be in different brainwave patterns and all of that kind of stuff. All of the other chants, while you can manifest the things that are directly translating to a language like, I want money or something, the things that are truly going to cause like spiritual change within you and start to elevate you are the seed syllable, seed sound type of mantras. And one that is known in this particular culture is the Om, Hreem, Om, Shreem, Om, Hreem, Shreem, Kleem. So the main sounds there are Hreem, Shreem, Kleem, and on their own, they really don't translate to anything. They have very loose meanings, and when you put them in, in order like that, like Om, Hreem, Shreem, Kleem, it's not meaning anything like, oh, please, Jesus, give me money. It is just in order of frequencies that are all very good for you and your body when you make them. And every culture actually has these sacred seed syllables that translate to essentially nothing that are good for you. But most mantras and stuff going around are the, oh Jesus, please save me ones. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of water really quick. Okay, we should constantly remind ourselves that nothing belongs to us, and we ourselves only belong to ourselves. We should practice Kriya very seriously and honestly, with devotion toward God. Do not forget that God is watching us 24/7. His eyes are always open and never blink. He is inside Kutashta. One cannot hide anything from him. Wow, can you tell that they were colonized at this point? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll read a little bit of this, just because this looks like maybe it'll be interesting, and then I'll jump to my next bookmark. Yogic powers, yoga cities. In Kriya Yoga, the miracle power starts coming after entering Shushumna. Every chakra, right from Mudlahar, is ruled by a particular god and goddess. When a Kriya practitioner enters these chakras, the ruling god of that particular chakra appears and they offer different types of powers, cities, to judge the Kriya practitioner's greed toward having these powers. If a Kriya practitioner falls into these traps, he will definitely get those powers, which will help him to earn name, fame, and money, but ultimately he will lose the grace of God and will fail to reach his target of salvation. Therefore, strictly he should avoid those attractive powers and request the ruling god to open the door and allow him to move forward to the next chakra. This way, the ruling god will be pleased, bless the Kriya practitioner, open the door, and guide him to the next chakra. As the Kriya practitioner pierces one by one each of these chakras, he will get various attractive powers, but he should reject all these powers to reach his target. One should keep in mind these powers are temporary. They will leave the Kriya practitioner at the time of death, and he will have to leave this world empty-handed with a lot of bad deeds also. Okay, this sounds a bit much, but I understand using your powers for bad would dissolve them into nothing, but what I don't understand. Maybe I just don't understand, but this sounds a little, it's giving Christian to me. It's giving devote yourself to God, but don't let God gift you. Okay, so let's jump on to the really good stuff here. So we did a note from author. We did why practice Kriya Yoga. Are we gonna do this part? Okay, I'll do a little bit of this. Okay, yama. The first important thing is food. If the food eaten by the sadhaka is not sattvic in nature, then there is no chance of spiritual improvement, because if the body becomes restless, the mind will also become restless. If we eat sugar, we experience the sensation of sweetness. On the other hand, when we eat tamarind, we experience the sensation of sourness. So it is clear that the different types of food activate different taste sensations in our body. Likewise, different kinds of food have different qualities and nutritional value. One type of food is rich in vitamin B, and another type may be rich in vitamin C, etc. Similarly, different types of food affect our mind differently. Okay, so basically, this whole thing is essentially saying, you are what you eat. You're not going to get there consuming very bad foods. And these people that practice this on a high level are mostly vegetarian and also have, they don't eat anything too hot, nothing too cold, nothing too spicy. They're on it. I don't necessarily think you can't spice your foods, but I do think what you're consuming has a lot to do with what you're gonna see out of what you're putting into this. Okay, niyama, discipline. Every day, Kriya should be practiced at the same time and for the same duration. If one day I get some joy in doing Kriya, and that day I do more Kriya, then another day I am not getting any joy out of Kriya, so I do less Kriya, this inconsistent way of practicing will be of no help. Every day Kriya should be practiced following strict discipline. As time passes, the duration of Kriya practice will increase automatically. The best time to practice Kriya is between 9:30 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. while sleeping for 3 hours in the afternoon after taking lunch. One who practices Kriya during this time experiences many blessings because at that time, a lot of realized yogis travel with the astral body, and if they find somebody practicing Kriya, they bless them. when you practice when your practice duration naturally lengthens, practicing continuously at this time is equivalent to practicing Kriya for 24 hours. Beginners should practice Kriya during early morning and in the evening, 2 to 3 hours before sunrise and 2 to 3 hours after sunset. The number of pranayamas should be fixed every day during Kriya practice. For example, if you fix 108 times of pranayam, the same number of pranayams should be practiced every day. If today you are feeling spiritually motivated and practice Kriya for a long time, and another day you feel depressed and practice Kriya for a shorter time, this is not the way Kriya should be practiced. It is generally observed that for those who practice 108 pranayams every day at the same time, upon reaching 70 to 80 pranayams, the mind becomes calm. This is the effect of practicing pranayama at a fixed time with a fixed number of pranayams. Kriya should be practiced without any worry in the mind. It will help with rapid progress in the Kriya path. For the fastest development, Kriya should be practiced at least twice a day in the beginning. If it's not possible, once every day is absolutely necessary. If one practices Kriya in the same time every day, he will notice that during that time of the day, the mind will become calm automatically. At advanced stages, one can practice Kriya whenever he likes and for any duration, because at this stage, the mind and prana are under control of sadhaka. The biggest enemy of Kriya practice is noise. One should practice Kriya in a calm and quiet atmosphere in a dark room. Oh, yeah. So that was cool, but I think we knew a lot of that. Let's just move to the practice. So here's the goods, the stuff we've all been waiting for, the stuff that I probably could have just read on its own, but I think it is nice to have an introduction. Let me have a little sip of water and let's get to it. Okay, meditation, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, pratyahara, the first stage of meditation, or parabhasta. After pranayam, practice yoni mudra and maha mudra. Okay. Okay, wait. Okay, never mind. That was correct. Okay. So, after pranayam, practice Yona Mudra and Maha Mudra. Then, as discussed above, sit silently with the eyes closed, watching the center of the eyebrows, Agna Chakra, without chanting Om, and sit in this way for 15 to 20 minutes in the beginning. Okay, so I was right. So, I was tripping up there because I was going to say that the pranayam that they are discussing is something that we already read previously, and that is the inhalation when you're doing Om 6 times when you inhale and Om 6 times out when you inhale. And you're doing that in your head while you meditate with your palms up in your lap, sitting in your most comfortable position. I don't know if I went over it in this reading right now, but there is a part of the book that straight up says, like, hey, if you have trouble crossing your legs and that is uncomfortable for you, do not sit like that. The point is to be comfortable so that you can do this for a long time. And if you're focused on your legs or your back hurting, like, that is not the point. Like, you're supposed to be able to, get deep into meditation. So do not worry if you can't cross your legs like a yogi. You're all right. Okay, so when you're doing the pranayama with the 6 times in, 6 times out, the best way to do it is not to count your 6 times in and 6 times out. The best way to do it is on a beat. So in your head, you want to do something like Om, 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 and just get used to the sound of that beat. And as long as you know how to keep that rhythm, you will always be doing 6 times in and 6 times out. Okay, so it'll be Om, 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 in, then out, Om, 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 om. And that is how you do that pranayama, and that is the one that they were referring to right here in this highlighted paragraph. So after you have done your 6 times in, 6 times out pranayama, you will practice yoni mudra. Yoni mudra, I am clearly doing a screen recording right now, so literally just look up yoni mudra. Just type it into YouTube. If you need a video, type it into Google Images if the image is okay with you, and the same with maha mudra. Then, as discussed above, sit silently with the eyes closed, watching the center of the eyebrows, Agna chakra, without chanting Om. Though now they're saying that because clearly we've already done the 6 times in and out with the Om. So now, to end our little thing, we're just sitting in silence, focusing on our breath, maybe visualizing energy coming out in and out of you. And you want to do this for 15 to 20 minutes in the beginning. Gradually, the duration to sit like this will increase automatically. One should only watch the center of Agna chakra. Mind will get diverted again and again. One should repeatedly bring the mind back to the center of Agna chakra. In this way, you will find that the mind is gradually getting settled and fixed at the center of Agna chakra. Your only task is to watch what is happening in Agna chakra. Eventually, with more and more practice, body awareness will cease and intoxication will come. After piercing Agna chakra, you will do dharana as below. Dharana, second stage of meditation. This stage comes to the sadhak after piercing Agna chakra to the lower part of Sahasrara chakra. What I'm saying, when I'm referring to these chakras, if you don't know them in this language, just pause the video and type it into Google, and the translations will literally come out as like third eye, heart chakra, and you'll be fine. In this stage, you will be able to concentrate deeper and get higher consciousness and hold your mind or concentrate on a particular object. B. Dhyana, the third stage of meditation. This stage happens in the center of Sahasrara chakra. It is extremely deep meditation, and one starts getting extreme knowledge. And then C, samadhi. Here one forgets his identity and gets immersed in total bliss. At this stage, mind and intellect are lost, and the individual soul becomes merged into the universal soul. Okay, there is much more and great stuff to this book, but we are going to stop there because I've honestly read too much already. Because you, as somebody who is starting Kriya and wants to get your practice done, this right here, I scammed you into this whole video. This was really the only page you needed. I was giving you some good info leading up to it, but this is what you need for an actual practice right here on page 83 of Original Kriya Yoga Volume 1 Step-by-Step Guide to Salvation, which is you should absolutely buy if you have money, or you can take a sneak peek at on my website. This page, again, you are starting your Kriya by your pranayama. What is your pranayama? That is 6 times in, 6 times out, Om. Om is the most well-known sacred syllable. So that's what I'm talking about. Om doesn't necessarily translate to anything, but it is something that we know to cause great healing as a sound and a syllable in spirituality. After that pranayama, you will practice yoni mudra. This is a mudra that you do with both your hands in your lap. Look up this mudra. And then you do maha mudra, which is almost very classic yoga-like. And then, to end it, you will sit there, focusing on Agna chakra which is your third eye chakra, by the way, in case you didn't pick that up through here. I probably should have said that. And you will not chant Om this time. You will sit in silence. You just focus on your breath, focus on energy, keep your mind clear. And that will be your Kriya practice up until you actually get to Dharana. Dharana isn't just the next part of the practice that you're doing after you sat in silence. That is after you have absolutely gotten word from, the ether from your own body that you have absolutely pierced your third eye chakra. Something major will have happened. You will have elevated in consciousness. And once you are like, yes, this definitely happened, then you move on to Dharana. But you really don't even need to read the rest of the book until you have absolutely mastered this part right here. And that could take you years. So thank you for coming to this little talk that I have done. This has been great for me. I'm hoping you were entertained. I don't think my girlfriend was. She is sitting in the background. And honestly, she probably should have been here to pronounce these words for me. But anybody who is a native of this language, I hope you got a laugh and not an insult. Thank you. I hope everybody downloads the book and check out my website, cosmicqueer.com. That is cosmic with a K. Good night, everyone.